up, you guys? Oh, it's so good to see you. I miss you all. I miss my time here on YouTube. And, I know I went on hiatus. I wanted to kind of brief you guys on what's been going on in life, as far as what has kept me away from YouTube, recording videos, editing, actually being consistent. But they are good reasons. I'm sure you guys are going to understand and concur with me that the trade-off has been good. First, let me jump right into it. For those who don't know who I am as a person, my name is Natalie Denise. I am a longtime anti-trafficking advocate. I have been in the anti-trafficking industry for the past almost 15 years now, and I've done a lot of things, multifaceted volunteer outreach activities such as spa intervention, cantina intervention, street prayer intervention. What else have I done? I've done mentorship at safe houses. I've taught at safe houses. I do have a background in makeup. And so, that's just been something that has been a little part of me that I could give away like as a skill, possibly that, so that way survivors will have something, at least one thing when they exit the life, and they can have confidence, with that skill. So that, excursions at the border with the militia, and that looked just another facet to trafficking, where undocumented children they would come in by themselves. And what would happen is that some shady adults would adopt like those children on the road, and they would act like their parents, when the adults actually would, or the shady adults would have other intentions that were ill. And so what we would do, or what I would participate in with the militia, is identifying those children, identifying the shady characters, and then bringing that information to BP, so that way those children would not be processed with, disguised parents who actually had other intentions for them. So anyway, with all that being said, I've had a lot of experience in the anti-trafficking industry at different facets. And finally, I wanted to do something on my own, like in my own effort. And that's when I formed my own organization. And I was very fortunate to find such a wonderful team. And again, I'm not going to make this lengthy, but we did a good portion of research for the first few years that we've been organized into the resources available for human trafficking victims and survivors. And, we looked into one of the biggest, if not the biggest organization in the United States, called the Polaris Project. And, the reason why we looked into it is because a bunch of federal funding was going into that organization, and so our donations, and they controlled the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And so that was our big research project. Again, not going to be lengthy about it. If you're interested in our findings, the fastest way to digest it, there's a 2-part video series on this particular channel. I will list those videos in my description below. You're more than welcome to go catch up on that. So all that being said, we just found out that there wasn't a lot being done for human trafficking survivors, although there was a lot being advertised to be done for human trafficking survivors. And so we decided to plan on our own and make this more of a self-serve type of deal to begin with. And so we relaunched our website, countertraffickingalliance.org. ctahelp.me is a much shorter URL. The URLs will be on screen, as well as a QR code. We have relaunched that at the end of April. Now, what kept me away was the development of that website, and the inclusion of new features, which means new tweaks, new enhancements, new bugs, fighting the bugs, fixing the bugs, and then new development, and then the cycle goes over and over and over and over. So it's been a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work goes into building a directory, something like that. And there's still things that we're working on that I am I feel blessed that this is actually coming to fruition, because it's been such a big effort to get it launched. So go check it out, bookmark it, share it. You never know when you're going to need something like this. I mean, there have been people who have text messaged me and asked me like at various parts of the day, is like, hey, do you know anybody in Nebraska who can take a survivor? Or, hey, do you know anybody in Houston or like, West Texas? And it's like if something like this were in the palm of my hand, like this would be so useful. So we built it at CTA. If it's on your heart, we do need support. We're independent. We don't have grants. So we can really, really use all of your support. There's all the buttons and things like that on the website for you to do that. Now, okay, so that's what I've been, a majority of my time has been going into is developing this resource for human trafficking survivors. And again, I think the trade-off is good. I'm happy. I feel good about being off of YouTube and in sacrificing a lot of my time to this resource. The other reason why I have been off, you're very graceful, very composed, very postured, and elegant friend here fractured her foot. Yes, I fractured my foot. And I will say that for somebody who is damn near 40, this has been an experience. I have never broken a bone in my body all my life. And this was it was just a stupid freak accident that happened. I was on a patio and I did this like run, jump, skip off the patio. There was a 3-inch step, and not because the patio just all looks flat. And so that 3-inch step is something that I just completely didn't see, didn't even pay attention to. So when I did the run, jump, skip, I landed all in one foot. I did like a spin, like there was a spin involved. And I think when I spun, that's where all like the little fractures happened. And this could not have happened to a more squeamish person. I am so squeamish. I don't like blood. I don't like bones and cracks and stuff like that. And for a squeamish person to like hear the pop and feel it and all that, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So the first few weeks were excruciating. I mean, excruciating. It really impacted my mental health. It definitely was an experience, but I'm happy to say that I am still healing. I think my foot is still broken, but I haven't taken any pain meds. So it went from excruciating to like, I'm not taking pain meds. I haven't done that for the past 3 weeks. So I'm definitely on the mend. I am hoping for some positive news pointing to me walking like on my own, like in a few weeks. I hope maybe at least physical therapy. So here's to hoping for that. So if you pray, please pray for me, pray for my healing, because I would love to have those prayers and I would love to walk. And man, it's given me a whole new perspective on like people with disabilities, like people having to get around in like scooters and wheelchairs and things like that. It's just, wow, that's just a different world. And the thing you take for granted, you take your limbs for granted. You take little things like walking and being able to use your hands for granted. And even in this experience, I'm like, well, thank God, like my hands are still intact. You know what I mean? Like I'm still able to use my hands. My hands aren't broken. My other foot's not broken. So anyway, it's long-winded, but yeah, this was not a fun experience whatsoever. Would not recommend, would rate 1 out of 10. Okay. This was bad. So anyway, like I said, I'm a little better and I can actually lower my foot without it stinging and being painful. So, great for that. Okay. Now let's pivot to the direction of the channel. And I feel very secure and I feel very good about the direction of the channel. Now, a lot of you have actually followed me and followed my work because of my past work. And like I said, I don't want to beat dead horses too much about this particular subject, but what I've realized through my work of building the directory, ctahelp.me or countertraffickingalliance.org, this resource directory has really shifted my perspective in what is really important. In the past, I know that you guys might have even followed me because I was sensational in trying to excavate the truth through these conspiracy theories and through these particular individuals like Epstein. And even so, I feel like I've done some diligent work on this channel. I feel like, hi, it's editing me here, and I just wanted to finish my thought here because I realized that I did not finish this particular thought. But what I was going into is the transpiration of my thinking. So initially, I was very sensational and I was only interested in exploring the subjects that had, sensational backings. But later on, as my, skills of discovery and research went on, I became more comfortable with arriving to answers that were not as sensational and only focused on either unfinished ends, meaning I didn't have the answer for a particular theory or a sensational event, or I would just leave it open ended with all the evidence presented. And so that's what I meant. And this really shifted my thinking with the whole anti trafficking thing because I can see why a lot of organizations deter people away from conspiracy theories because it takes away from actual real life situations in the trafficking world because it's so distracted by conspiracy theories. That's what I meant to say. There has definitely been a time where I have egged on conspiracy theories, and I would sensationalize post based on things that were just clickbait, but I don't know that I necessarily had all the evidence. In fact, I didn't have all the evidence for all the posts that I made. And that's the truth. It was something that was sensational, especially around the COVID time. That's where it was like the explosion of conspiracy theories. I didn't have all the evidence, but because it was sensational and maybe there were some contextual details that might paint certain individuals as evil or at doing heinous crimes, I think it was more of the sensation and having the followership that I did also become interested in something like that. So it was like we were on this journey together. Now, what has shifted my thinking? Well, first of all, like I said, I'm damn near 40, so I think my prefrontal cortex has like fully developed. I think it did it like a couple of years ago. It usually it fully develops like it's supposed to fully develop at least at the beginning of your 30s. But I think I'm mature in my wisdom and my assessment and my decision making to say that I I truly don't want to just sensationalize everything, just because it's a conspiracy theory and it's out there. Um, in the past, I feel like there were some unfair accusations of celebrities, for instance, like, and this is not to say that this doesn't go on and that Hollywood's not weird and there aren't weird rituals that we should look into, because I will still definitely cover that. Believe me, there are some stories that I'm going to cover and I'm like, why aren't we talking about this? Because we're distracted with all of these conspiracy theories when this is actually happening. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that all of Hollywood is just not guilty of the things that we all suspected them of. Not what I'm saying at all. But there are certain cases where we're just kind of flippantly accusing celebrities because they're either dressing avant-garde, edgy, they go to the Met Gala, and, we think that they're doing some sort of like, crazy rituals when, or some sort of heinous crimes when there's no evidence that they're actually doing that. And some of them are just devoid of morals and, they're edgy and avant-garde. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just as simple as that. And I think we've just done a really good job of vilifying these people, politicians as well. Now, I'm once again, not to say that all the politicians are they go off scot free. For instance, a good example is Joe Biden. You know, his daughter writing in her diary that she didn't think it was actually appropriate that as her being a girl, she was showering with her father. And then you see Joe Biden sniffing children and things like this. You know, there's like stuff like that, the contextual stuff. I'm still with you guys. I'm still with you guys. But to just flippantly accuse somebody of, you know, doing rituals and being part of this like big club because they wear like, you know, the avant-garde haute couture or something like that. It's just, I regret flippantly accusing people of that. So anyway, I said I wasn't gonna beat a dead horse, and I just beat it to death. Sorry. The direction of my channel is human trafficking stories, cases that just have gone unnoticed or swept under the rug, and I feel like it's not that people don't care. I don't think that at all. I don't think people are devoid of, you know, their attention to this. It's just, it's so voluminous, the amount of stories and accounts and cases out there, and it happens day by day. It's just so voluminous that we don't stop, pause, and curate through some of this work. And I feel like these stories are definitely something that we can all learn from. Again, there are some big things that happen, like big networks, very technical ways that these people get away with certain things. And I feel like we're not, like, we're so distracted with sensationalism and conspiracy theories, in particular podcasters that have made bank just doing that. And we're not really actually paying attention to, there's like actual things that are like sensational on their own, and the mechanics and the networks that are involved. Like, we need to start looking at this stuff. So I am committed to that. And I think that for those of you who originally followed me for, you know, that theme of work, I think that this goes parallel with your interests. I think that this is nothing that should stray away from your interests. You know, for those of you who are just like gonna flog yourselves over Epstein and you want me to just be an Epstein channel, that's just not gonna happen, because, you know, there were a lot of files that were released, and a lot of people want to make assumptions of what they mean. And that's the thing that I'm talking about again. Like, it's a mixed bag. I think that there were some definite victims of Epstein. And then there are some that claim to be victims that were offered deals, that actually did some heinous things. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's a mixed bag. So I'd rather move on with more real life cases that happen every day. And if you were only here for Epstein and you only want that type of sensational content, I welcome you to, you know, just kind of think about what you're truly caring about. You know what I mean? Because I'm just going to give you an example. I have covered Epstein for years. You can go back and find content after content after content, video after video talking about Epstein, and somebody who is like crazed and, you know, just, they think that Epstein is like the only form of trafficking. They're like, oh, so you're going to stop talking about Epstein all of a sudden? Although, like, I was like, the past few videos have been about human trafficking cases. I'm like, do you not see what you're doing? Like, I have talked about Epstein for years, like years of content. And because I'm talking about some other cases in human trafficking, like, all of a sudden, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, are you people okay? Like, there's other things that we need to talk about as well. So that's the direction of the channel. I'm excited about it. I feel secure about that. I really do. I feel secure about that. I'm not into gossip. I don't want to gossip about, you know, celebrities and what I think they're doing and all these things, unless, once again, it is within the theme of this channel. I just don't, that doesn't interest me. I want to talk about real life cases, things that are happening to children, things that are happening to adults, and all walks of life are affected by this horrible epidemic. So anyway, that's what it is, guys. I hope you've been well. I hope that you guys will tune in, hit the bell, because we're gonna I think we're gonna stay consistent. I think we're gonna stay consistent. My foot's not hurting. I got my camera settings are even better. My little setup's a little better. It's gonna be even better. Gonna order another thing that's gonna make it really classy. So anyway, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.